Meet Lynn Forester, the Lady de Rothschild, one of the world's most successful businesswomen. Forester's first business success came at the age of 16 when she bought US-made blue jeans and sold them in Israel for up to 10 times more. She had recognized her business traits. After a few degrees then, she became an entrepreneur in telecommunications and acquired a personal fortune of over $100 million in the economic boom years between 89 and 98. But her biggest was yet to come. Forester founded the Luxembourg-based wireless broadband venture Firstmark Communications Europe, which acquired fixed broadband licenses for Germany, Spain, France and other emerging economies of Europe. It built a 20,000-kilometer fiber network throughout continental Europe, and then Lynn Forester sold this very business for $1 billion with equity deal of the year 2000. Soon after that deal, Lynn Forester discovered the India story, and within months of connecting with Sunil Mittal, she joined up with him for the agriculture and retail venture Feel Fresh. She continues to look for opportunities here in India. For now though, it's not the emerging markets but the American real estate sector where Lynn Forester is scouting for ideas. In her political life, Lady de Rothschild was a major fundraiser of Hillary Rodham Clinton's 2008 presidential bid and has also received attention for endorsing John McCain for president. Lady Lynn Rothschild, thanks very much for joining us.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
It's a pleasure having you. Of course, all these years you've said that, it's more important to be less boring than have more money. But after the recession, what do you feel about the opportunities that are coming up?
Well, the financial crisis was a big shock for a lot of people, and it was less of a shock in India than in lots of parts of the world. So bravo to you. You didn't have a subprime crisis and those things that hurt us so much. I think thankfully governments have acted. I think we didn't go off the cliff. It felt in January to March 09 we might go off the cliff. We haven't gone off the cliff, but I think it's created opportunities. I think there is a new normal, which means better pricing for people like us who are investors.
Indeed, and that too beyond the emerging scenario, because I do know that you've had tremendous interest in the India opportunity, but this time in the recession you've thought of the developed world once again.
Well, we are finding opportunities in the financial sector and in real estate, particularly in the United States right now. There's a lot of distressed assets there, and so that's interesting to us.
You would risk real estate again in the US?
Well, we never got hit. We were always on the right side of real estate, and I think that there's going to be a big shakeout in commercial real estate yet to come, but I think there are opportunities.
Right, and when you look at just the fact that the US and European countries have gone through this whole, I think they still are in progress to settle off the recession, because what's happening in Europe with Greece and the UK in terms of deficit is quite worrying. So as an investment firm, are you grappling with some of the fallouts of just the state of Europe, for example?
Well, you're kind, because you only talk about deficits in the UK, and the US deficits are as bad. You know, when deficits start getting to 9% and 10% of GDP, and debt is 60, 70, 80% of GDP, it's very troubling. And we are headed that way in the United States and in Europe. That will stifle private investment. But I believe right now it's still built into the pricing for some opportunities.
Okay. And having said that, do you feel that in some way or the other, the kind of issues that have come up, for example, the state of Greece, right? So that's one big issue that's grappling, Europeans are grappling with. Do you feel it's sort of damaging the image more than anything else about the way the European countries haven't been able to come together to find a solution?
Well, I think we should give the euro a break. I think there was a lot of short selling against the euro, believing that Europeans wouldn't come together. Just today, we saw Angela Merkel and Nicolas Sarkozy agree a plan. I think that Europe is going to show to the world that it can take care of itself. And also, they do have deficit limitations that are quite stringent. In fact, they would be difficult to hold in India, and America's not holding on to them either. So I believe that the Eurozone is an old established economy. It's not the emerging juggernaut that India is, but I think that there are opportunities in Europe.
Would you also pick up, like you were talking about real estate in the financial space? I mean, is this also led by the fact that at this point many of these banks have come under tremendous scrutiny, for example, so therefore they're not able to sort of set themselves up and sustain themselves? Within insurance, for example, there's a lot of news in the European markets of potential companies to buy. What's the nature of financial investment that you would be looking at?
Well, you framed the question in a very interesting way, because with the increased reserve requirements on banks, with the toxic assets that are on the balance sheets, the banks are really pulling back. So that leaves room for almost an alternative banking system, because the margins are very high if you have capital to lend and you price the capital correctly to asset value. So we think there is quite an opportunity to sort of play in that crease between the requirements of real estate, which are now more logically